So my name is Eileen. So I head the partnership ecosystem for AB Tasty in APAC. And today we are grateful to have our partners showcase their success stories with their clients. So the next sessions will continue on the topic of customer experience within Omnichannel, the challenges and victories. Let's welcome on stage Clinton Hearne, the head of marketing at Flight Centre, and Sandra, the head of channel partnership from our partner Delicon. So over to you, Sandra and Clinton.
Thanks, Eileen. Thank you very much. Welcome everyone this afternoon. Welcome to Clinton for joining us today. We've had a bit like Kate, she's actually in her car presenting today. Clinton's been flooded out this week, so we've had a few challenges. He's actually on mobile, but as we say, we're all very agile nowadays. So a little intro on Clinton, a bit of background. He's head of marketing for the Flight Centre Travel Group. He's been in marketing for 9 years, so very experienced. And he leans into a lot of change and challenges of which every marketer has experienced over the last 12 months. So he believes that marketing is a fine balance of data, but also that kind of creative initiative as well. So it's blending those two together. And the old fundamentals still apply. So obviously, you know, we're talking about a lot of new technologies and everything nowadays, but the old fundamental still applies, and it's just putting that like modern twist onto it. So Clinton's known for cultivating some really passionate teams and some fun teams, and his love of music is paramount. But his favourite rebuttal to any no's is, well, they put the man on the moon. So he's a go-getter and he gets stuff done.
That's very nice, Sandra. Thank you.
So Clinton and I worked together for about 3 years now when Flight Centre engaged Delicon to track, measure and report the attribution of media and sources, like channel sources, which generated phone calls from customers via their main website. So more recently, we've expanded those services to assist with the customer experience and the journey of customers. We'll find out a bit more about that later. So in context for today, Flight Centre is really, you know, a much loved travel brand for everyone from Australia. You will know Flight Centre, and I'm sure most of us have booked some kind of travel with them over the years. But exactly 12 months ago, Flight Centre and the rest of the travel industry was thrown into absolute chaos, and that day was like spinning out of control. So welcome to COVID-19. What did that mean for customer experience with Flight Centre? And how did it change overnight? So before we get into that, we'll hand over to Clinton. And Clinton, if you can kind of explain to us the multi-channel structure for marketing and customer experience for Flight Centre.
Yeah, so if I start, thanks, Sandra. If I start pre-COVID, we're a traditional business. We've been around for about 40 years. In Australia in particular, and with that we're primarily retail stores. So we had about 850 to 1,000 retail stores across Australia, and then about 7 years ago we started to play in the e-commerce space, which is probably a little bit late to the party. And I guess where we were sort of failing in that customer experience sort of area was if you walked into one of our stores and gave all your details over, and then you came back 3 months later or went to a different store, we actually didn't know you at all. We would ask you all the same questions: your name, date of birth, your favourite seat, your meal options, frequent flyers, and never did we connect the two, regardless if you were high value and had spent tens of thousands of dollars with us, or if you were someone just coming in to change your booking, but we're just, you know, at a new shopping centre. So I guess that's where we come from and started.
So obviously with COVID, you know, it's thrown a lot of challenges your way. So how's that kind of channel mix working now, and how are you managing the customer experience across that?
Yeah, it's sort of been a good opportunity for us to really look at what's happening with our customer experience and where we need to play. So we know customers want to deal with us in store and online, which we were already playing in, but then over the phone and call centres needed to be a focus. But some customers just want us to come to their house or meet at a coffee shop. So we wanted the customers to have a great experience from us, so we started to roll that out. Because regardless of what a customer wanted to do, be it a transactional holiday, an off-the-shelf holiday, or really bespoke, we needed to be able to cater for that, especially as a mass market brand. So with this in mind, customer routing was extremely important for us, and to give a better experience to our customers in the end, which will actually result, if we put them in the right channel, if we're routing correctly, to a higher conversion rate and also a lower cost to serve. So it will cost us less to do that if we put them in the right area. We're just on the initial sort of program there, but what it sort of means to us, and what's enabled this has been the rollout of call centers onshore and offshore for dedicated products. So they're more specialized teams that deal with you in a couple of those areas, and an independent contractor model, which pretty means that independent travel consultants come under the Flight Centre banner, and however they want to deal with their customers, wherever they want to deal with their customers, we allow that. And enable that, be it, store, the coffee shop, and they'll come to your house at 8 o'clock at night if that makes it right. So we've really taken this opportunity to expand that greatly to be a better service for our customers.
It sounds like you've had a pretty busy year, obviously, getting across all those different channels and trying to, manage the customer experience and collecting the data and all that. So what does it look like now? And what are you working on, for the future, like around this whole customer experience? How are you tracking and measuring everything?
Yeah, so there's probably a couple of different ways that we are tracking. We had a pretty big fundamental rollout of our phone calls and phone analytics that we've been using yourselves, Delicon, with. And that's primarily about 80% of our measurable inquiry comes through phones, and we were doing very limited tracking on that, other than knowing what channel they were coming from, but we couldn't see that journey all the way through, and we didn't cover off all phone calls. So it was definitely a missed opportunity for us to do that. Local store numbers, for example, in Google My Business, of those 80% of calls, which it's about 50,000 calls per month, about 35,000 of them we weren't even tracking or didn't know anything about. So there's been quite a big piece on tagging, analytics, and getting set up with the right partners to make sure that we're enable that. And because of that, and understanding what a customer wants to do, we can tell if we're getting new customers, if they're returning customers, are they calling us about refunds or requesting a credit? And because of that, and because of those sort of insights that we can grab from those areas, it lets us to funnel our resources, being it people or the bottom dollar, into the areas that need it most, not just from a marketing point of view, but from our product management streams, from our people side, and which call centers that we need to, sort of upstaff or move. So I guess that's probably been the biggest change.
And obviously you had to pivot really, really quickly. So how did you get the speed of this out? Like, how did it change the organisation, like the speed to, improve these customer experiences and use new technologies, etc.? Yeah,
so I guess the biggest one would have been that we sell about 2 million holidays per year within Australia. And overnight, literally 19th of March 2020, which is cemented into my brain, we moved from a business that sold holidays to a business that cancelled, refunded, and had to start to put in credits for customers. Now, to be truthful, we weren't set up for that at all. We'd never seen anything like it, like no one had. And so our customer experience was abysmal. It literally wasn't there. The ongoing customer sentiment had really dropped and really become negative. So we leaned on partners, yourselves for that analytics piece that I was just speaking about before, but also the likes of Salesforce, who's our marketing automation platform, and going, what else can we do? What else is out there? And how do we get this up really quickly? So Salesforce came to the party, which was lucky, and introduced Salesforce Service Cloud. So which literally allowed us to track refunds, enter them to a centralized database, and also allow our customers our consultants or call center teams, literally anyone in the business, to be able to pick up a call from a customer and go, cool, this is where your refund's at, this is where your credit's at, and this is how you use it. Now that sort of changed to roll out to around 5,000 staff, implemented a new technology or a new platform. To be kind, would have taken us about 6 to 12 months, and we did this within 2.5 weeks. So it was a huge change, but something that needed to happen. And obviously that customer experience then just increased positively tenfold.
Awesome. So, I mean, it's an incredible amount of work, and I obviously know that enterprises, you know, to try and move swiftly is like a big challenge. So you guys, you know, should be enormously proud of yourselves over the last 12 months. What does the next 12 months look like to continue improvement on that customer experience across you know, all channels and all your technologies?
Yeah, definitely. I think we will continue to invest in routing and allowing our customers, I guess, really to be able to self-service where they need to, or get them a little bit further down the funnel before they intersect with a person, if that's what they want to do. So we're rolling out a global knowledge hub and chatbot with human handoff, really AI specific, and looking at support to start with, but then we'll also include sales, so that way we can, you know, obviously improve e-com conversion. The first version of that will be finalized this year, and then we'll further roll out to other channels. So that'll be on our website, but then we'll start to do that on Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and wherever else a customer wants to deal with us. We're investing in our consultant system, so it'd be surprising, but we don't have a CRM system, so we're rolling out a CRM system. A bit late to the party there, but we got there. And other sort of tools that enable our consultants, so we call it consultant enhancements, to be able to remove those admin duties, because we did have a lot of legacy systems, and a lot of time was spent. It was about 2.5 hours per consultant per day on admin, rather than being able to provide a greater customer experience. And that's happening now. Marketing automation. I'm very passionate about this, and I heard before they were talking about personalization, but we have tools. Tech has finally caught up, and marketers, if they use it right, can actually start to use this extremely well, obviously through email and based off customers' actions on site or in store when they've transacted, but also we're starting to look at how do we use those analytics and insights to go, this is what next best action would be, or what the insights are telling us, so we can sort of predict on their behalf. And that will continue to develop across app push and website push, and including that in the customer journey. So quite excited about that one. And then I guess the backbone of all this is having that strong analytics piece. So it needs to be across all of our sales channels, and we've been working with yourselves to go, how do we understand what the customers are doing and where they're going, especially with this new routing strategy. It's really core to get that right, so we can have that first response resolution, so we're not moving a customer around unnecessarily. And to do that, I think you need to be doing a lot of testing and really challenging ourselves on why and how a customer's contacting us and what they want from there. So I guess one of the biggest ones that we're just setting up at the minute is those 35,000 calls that are going direct to a store. We're going to challenge our thinking, go, in some of those cases, they actually don't want to speak to that local store. They potentially want to go to a specialized package team because they might have Googled holiday packages and their closest stores come up on the right, so they've just hit that button. So we're going to run across phones A/B test to sort of look at, hey, can we move the customer to a different place, and does that result in a better customer experience, a higher conversion rate, and a better cost of sale across the board? So that's probably really challenging our own previous thinking that consultant first. We really need to be customer first, and they'll tell us what's happening, and testing does that for us.
Cool. So that's quite trailblazing, obviously, and then, you know, to actually get that experience of, you know, what you're driving online, I suppose, to what's actually really happening offline when they pick up the phone, but actually collecting all that data and then personalizing it and testing it. So it's going to be, you know, a really good year going forward. So look forward to some of the results in there.
Definitely, and I think that attribution piece will come into that. We can do that from phone now if we're doing a match with what Delicon's provided us. We can actually go back. It's not real time yet, but we can actually go, these channels are doing this, and this is our average booking file and how much that cost us. So that's a really powerful tool. I think any marketer would tell you that attribution is the holy grail, and this is this is a first step or a couple of steps in that direction, which is amazing.
And you were actually talking about your customer segments, and obviously looking at, you know, ideas and thoughts on personalization around those customer segments going forward. So can you speak more to that?
Yeah, I think we've sort of laid it a couple of different ways, and we've never done it right. We're a mass marketer, and I think over the years about 20 million people have bought from us, and considering Australia's 24 million people, like over 40 years, that we've sort of touched everyone. So then to group them into core customer segments, to cast that net wide, but then also fish with that personalization really targeted. So we've broken it down into a couple of different levels. So you see that top line there. Are you a family, a small group, a solo, or a couple? And understanding some people, like myself, might go into two. I'll have a family holiday, but then I'll also travel by myself to go, how do we tag that in market? And then we'll put over their need state. So we've done a lot of work with McKinsey to go, these, we call them trendsetters. They're happy to do a lot of research on their own. They want to deal with us online. They potentially will come to a store just to get validation of what they're doing. But that's all they need us for. And we have another need state, that's advice takers. They want to come into store. They really want us to be planning that whole holiday for them. So we've sort of broken that down into a couple of different levels. And on top of that, they cater, and I sort of hate saying demographics is customer segment, but we haven't necessarily been that good at the younger market. So we pull out youth, and youth will lay over there. It's probably just a more core focus for us at the second, with channels we're selecting and how we're presenting ourselves from a branding point of view, and how do they want to deal with us. Our app's really sticky. We know if someone buys there, that they're 85% chance they're likely to come back there, and we think that's a great opportunity for that youth segment.
Awesome. You didn't put yourself into that bucket, Clinton.
No, thank you, Sandra, for pointing that out. No, I didn't.
Oh, very good. Okay, so a year on from, probably like one of the worst days that we've all experienced, what would you have done differently if you could go back 12 months ago?
I think from the start, I would have gone harder. What we're doing with this phone trial, I would have done more of them and faster. I think we didn't challenge ourselves potentially at the start as much as we could have. We were sort of like just make stuff happen. But I think if I would have had that time over, probably take a step back or 30 minutes to breathe and do a bit of that testing or setting up those testings for when it was the right time to push a little bit harder. So big believer, we went hard, but we could have gone harder.
And do you have like 3 learnings to share with all the marketers that are obviously listening today, like top 3 things that, obviously under adversity you can shine? What would your 3 things that you want to really share?
Analytics, probably number 1, needs to be making up more of your not paid for from the rest of the business. You need to be including that in your marketing budget. I think, I've gone from about 3 to 5% a couple of years ago, even before I was Flight Centre, to about 15, 20%. You need that. You need to be gathering all that data. Yes, you do need the insights of it, but it's extremely important to have that analytics layer across every channel that you can. Customer segmentation, it's the backbone of what we're doing. You can only create a great customer experience if you understand that customer's journey, where you're winning now and where you're failing, or where's your opportunity. And that's not just from a marketing point of view. I think that's the entire business, and the entire business can get on board of that. And it sort of lets you, which is my 3rd point, is using both of those points to be able to influence the business. I think any marketer, it is a skill to be able to talk to a CFO and go, I need this money. Not just for marketing, but for this tech, for this analytics, and you need to be able to talk in really financial terms. And if you're talking to product managers, you need to be able to talk to what does that mean for their tech stack, and what's a true MVP that still delivers on a customer experience look like. So analytics, customer segmentation, and know how to influence the business. Because if you can't influence the business, those first 2 don't really mean a lot. Yeah,
brilliant, awesome. Just to wrap up, I suppose, very, very important question. A lot of us are having massive travel withdrawals, except for Kate, who's obviously in holiday, will be in her car somewhere. So what's the best travel tip at the moment from Flight Centre, and where should we go? Okay, so I think because there's people from around the world, like there's nothing like a holiday in your own backyard. I think it's underrated, and if you're anything like a lot of Australians, we travel abroad first, so there's lots of great things to see that you can do here. So go support local. If you're in Australia, go to Tassie. It's amazing. I just come back from 2 weeks. I've never been there before in my life, which is sad to say. So do that. Or jump in a car, just drive. There's a lot of little places that need a lot of help at the minute. So go support local. Excellent. Brilliant. I think we're probably ready for some questions. Let me just see if, oh, okay, so we've got one here. Clinton, could you tell us more about your stack for managing personalisation and the strategy around this with regard to multi-channels?
Yeah, good question. So personalisation, we have a lot of different channels, and I think people get stuck in it's either website or email marketing automation platform. I actually think you can do some form of personalisation across nearly any channel. So like I said, we have a bunch of stores with digital screens. So we're doing a lot of customer segmentation work for those shopping centres to go, this shopping centre is more likely to have a family. And then we need to be able to generate that content, which might still be in the same, you know, Tourism Australia campaign, but we need to be showing imagery and having content that speaks to that one. And I think doing that, understanding those customer segments and then looking at those individual channels does that. We're doing it now with our marketing automation platform. We are on Salesforce, so we keep developing that. We took on their GA360 connector a fair few years ago, and that's worked really well because it's allowed us in a really cost-effective way being able to personalize across the board. And with how the stack looks, you know, website's got to be key at some stage. We're looking at a couple of different vendors, to be truthful, and how that goes, but I'm big on the moment of proof of concept. So I think we'll end up looking at 2 vendors and making them pitch and then do a proof of concept across both of them, because the proof's in the pudding at the end of the day. And I think if you do something and you go all in, especially with something so important, then potentially you're not setting yourself up for success. I hope that answers that.
Yeah, I think definitely. I don't know if there's any other questions popping on. Hey, Eileen. Can't hear you.
Sorry, Eileen, you're on mute.
You're on mute. We can't hear you.
Sorry. All right, thank you very much. Thanks for sharing those very good questions and very good insights on what you could do better. I think the audience really appreciate that. It's good to see how successful Flight Centre have been to integrate call tracking together with your customers' experience journey. I'm sure you will actually see a lot of other solutions for the website, improving the CRO on the website side as well.